Since childhood, Sayaka Kudo had always dreamed of having friends. Her father never paid her much attention, spending all his time with his son. He wanted Ryuji to become a professional baseball player. Sayaka and her younger sister Mayumi didn't understand sports at all and spent all their time with their mother. Because of poor relationships with her peers, Sayaka often changed schools. One day, she noticed some girls in beautiful uniforms and decided she wanted to study at the same school. Trying to please her daughter, her mother transferred Sayaka to an all-girls school. Once there, Sayaka quickly made friends and spent all her time with them. When she entered high school, she stopped studying altogether. Sayaka turned into a trendy girl who wore miniskirts and bright makeup. Teachers treated her terribly, calling her stupid and saying she'd never get into college. When she moved up to her second year of high school, she kept skipping classes and hanging out with her friends. Her relationship with her father got even worse, since he still spent all his time training his son. One day during class, a teacher found tobacco in her makeup bag. He called her mother to school and demanded that Sayaka be expelled. The principal decided to give her another chance and suspended her for a week. Realizing her daughter needed higher education, Sayaka's mother found a private tutor who might be able to help her turn things around. When Yoshitaka saw a blonde girl in a miniskirt standing at his door, he was surprised by how little she knew. Her academic level was that of a fourth grader, and preparing her for college entrance exams seemed almost impossible. Despite that, the tutor managed to find an approach that motivated Sayaka. To test her abilities, he gave her a small quiz, but she couldn't answer a single question and scored 0. Even so, Yoshitaka didn't give up. He broke down every task and started from the basics. Sayaka didn't read books and didn't know even simple things, but she had good logic and intuition. Using that, the tutor began preparing her for the entrance exams. Together they decided that Sayaka would try to get into one of Tokyo's most prestigious universities. She had a hard time trusting him at first, but she filled out her application and began studying diligently. While her classmates hung out, Sayaka sat with her textbooks, taking tests and learning new subjects. She visited her tutor 3 times a week, reluctantly doing her homework. Yoshitaka was passionate about his job and treated each student individually. When checking another of Sayaka's tests, he realized she still didn't know basic things. Many tasks seemed too hard for her, but she soon discovered that even her younger sister knew the answers. Other students laughed at her, but Sayaka refused to give up. Her father still didn't believe in her and thought she was stupid. When he found out she was aiming for a prestigious university, he mocked her and invited her to watch Ryuji's baseball game. To get back at her brother, Sayaka and Mayumi cut his glove so he couldn't catch the ball. During one of her lessons, Sayaka thanked Yoshitaka for praising her. His words motivated her to keep studying, even though she still struggled. Soon, Yoshitaka took on a new student, Reiji, who hated studying. He was obsessed with video games and had no plans to go to college. His father wanted him to study law and follow in his footsteps. Using Reiji's frustration toward his parents' expectations, Yoshitaka found a way to motivate him to learn. Sayaka also found new motivation. There would be plenty of attractive guys at university. During their sessions, Yoshitaka realized she didn't understand literature, English, or history at all. To fix that, he loaded her up with textbooks. Self-study became an important part of her progress, and Sayaka had to put in a lot of effort to catch up. Every night, she stayed up late and often fell asleep over her books. Meanwhile, Ryuji and his father celebrated his victory at the school championship, paving the way for a professional career. Sayaka shared her small successes, but her father didn't care about the grades of a so-called failure. Determined to prove him wrong, she studied day and night. She even made a bet with her tutor about improving her English score and won it. Keeping his word, Yoshitaka gave her an old photo of himself. It turned out he'd once been a poor student too, not because he was dumb, but because no teacher had ever tried to understand him. As he grew older, Yoshitaka decided to help kids like his younger self and became a tutor. Because of all her late-night studying, Sayaka often fell asleep in class. Her homeroom teacher grew angry and wanted to expel her. When he found out she dreamed of getting into a top university, he humiliated her. Sayaka challenged him to a bet, and confident he'd win, the teacher agreed. Seeing Sayaka's struggles with logic and basic understanding, Yoshitaka encouraged her to watch the news and develop her thinking. Her father refused to give money for his daughters and spent everything on new baseball gear. Sitting in the park, Sayaka thought about her childhood and wished her parents had paid attention to her. Later, she met Reiji at a cafe, where they spotted Yoshitaka and her teacher talking nearby. Curious, Sayaka tried to overhear their conversation. The teacher didn't believe in her, calling her stupid again. Yoshitaka defended her, saying that with the right approach, even a struggling student could learn. Children shouldn't be insulted or shamed, it only holds them back. Motivated, Sayaka kept studying history, reading interesting facts and watching the news. Yoshitaka realized she could memorize a textbook but still struggled to think for herself. To fix that, he began explaining the meaning behind current events. As Sayaka learned that journalists sometimes distort the truth, she began thinking critically and forming her own opinions. Her mother met with Yoshitaka and thanked him for his hard work. He saw real progress but feared they had started too late. Determined to help her daughter, Sayaka's mother took a second job to pay for 6 tutoring sessions a week. Learning about her sacrifice, Sayaka promised not to let her down. But the constant studying wore her out, and she began losing confidence. Using an egg as an example, Yoshitaka told her that nothing was impossible. You just have to keep moving toward your dream. The next day, Sayaka completely changed her image. She cut her hair short and traded her miniskirts for a tracksuit. Focused on her goal, she improved her English and studied Japanese history intensely. When her teacher called her mother to complain that Sayaka always fell asleep in class, her mother explained about the tutoring and begged him not to punish her. Inspired by Sayaka's determination, Reiji changed too and began studying hard. After taking a practice test, Sayaka scored average results and was upset. But Yoshitaka reassured her progress was progress. When Ryuji came home one day, he announced he no longer wanted to play baseball. His father punished him, and Ryuji ran away from home. At that point, Sayaka also lost faith in herself. Frustrated, Yoshitaka kicked her out of class for whining. Around the same time, Ryuji finally gave up baseball. His father, who had spent his whole life training his son, lashed out at him. Trying to protect Ryuji, their mother smashed her husband's bus window with a baseball bat. Sometime later, Sayaka and her mother visited the university, and she realized this was where she truly wanted to study. Returning to Yoshitaka, she resumed her lessons. Soon she passed a mock English exam with a passing score. Her father didn't believe it but was genuinely happy for her. When the actual exam day came, it started snowing heavily, and Sayaka couldn't get to the school. Seeing her struggle, her father, who had finally changed his attitude, decided to drive her there on his bus. They still argued on the way, but at one point he stopped to help people stuck in the snow. Sayaka realized her father was actually kind and caring. She passed her first exam and prepared for the next ones. When she learned that students were allowed to bring a dictionary, Sayaka asked Yoshitaka to sign hers for good luck. In return, she gave him a heartfelt letter of thanks. Before she left, Yoshitaka handed her a can of cold coffee. Nervous before her next exam, Sayaka drank it, but it made her sick, and she kept running to the restroom. Later, she found out she had failed that exam and almost lost her chance to enter college. Yoshitaka encouraged her not to give up. There was still hope. Feeling crushed, he later wrote her a letter of apology. A few days later, Sayaka checked her final results and discovered she had been accepted into the university of her dreams. Overjoyed, she ran to tell her parents, who were both proud of her. Then she rushed to Yoshitaka and shared the happy news. He congratulated her and gave her a letter in return. Before leaving for Tokyo, she read his emotional message, realizing how much faith he had always had in her. Reiji, who dreamed of becoming a lawyer, didn't get in, but he refused to give up and planned to try again next year. When Sayaka met up with her old friends, she reminded Yoshitaka of their bet and took a funny picture with him. Finally, as she prepared to leave for Tokyo, she jumped on her father's back, just like when she was a child and left home. Yoshitaka watched her go, realizing he had helped make another dream come true, and that was the end.